Kenneth Grant was a maverick British occultist and author whose work broadened and reimagined the magical system of Aleister Crowley. He is best known for his esoteric series of writing known as the Typhonian trilogies, and for founding the Typhonian Ordo Templi Orientis, or Typhonian OTO, a magical order that broke away from the mainstream OTO after Crowley's death. Grant's writings blend Thelemic philosophy with surrealism, Lovecraftian horror, and what he termed Typhonian currents, occult forces linked to the ancient chaos deities and the night side of the Tree of Life. Kenneth Grant's magical system, as expressed through the Typhonian OTO, is not a structured curriculum or formal tradition in the same way traditional ceremonial magic operates. It's a living visionary framework based on the idea that true magic lies in the conscious engagement with the unknown, the subconscious, and the transdimensional. His approach is experiential, deeply symbolic, and built to challenge rational understanding rather than reinforce it. The Typhonian system is a multi-dimensional map of consciousness, incorporating a hidden side. Behind the familiar Sephiroth lies the night side, populated by the Qliphoth, shells or shadows that represent distorted or inverted energies. The tunnels between these Qliphothic realms form a hidden network known as the tunnels of Set, which are explored in altered states of consciousness. These tunnels are not simply negative aspects of existence. They are living psychic zones, filled with symbols, forces, and intelligences that can be contacted and worked with through dream, trance, sigil magic, and sexual gnosis. The work of the magician in the Typhonian system is not merely to invoke, banish, or balance forces in the usual ceremonial sense, but to explore the dreamscape of consciousness, to undergo psychic mutation, and to allow alien energies to transform and evolve one's being and merge with the psyche. Magic becomes a kind of interdimensional communication. The practitioner uses dreams, automatic writing, sigils, and visionary art to open the gates to these other worlds. The goal is not union with the divine as traditionally understood, but contact with the radically other, the alien within and beyond. Grant focuses on the lunar or feminine current, which he associates with dream, the womb, the void, and subconscious. Altered states are entered through lucid sleep or trance. The body becomes a temple through which energies from beyond the visible world can be invoked, channeled, and expressed. The Typhonian system also places great importance on dreams and visionary states. Grant often refers to the mauve zone, a twilight region between waking and sleep, where the boundaries of the self dissolve and the magician may enter into contact with otherworldly intelligences. This zone is not strictly symbolic. It is treated as a real space accessible through the inner senses. Grant transforms dreams into ritual zones, where magical activities operate using symbolic methods. Grant reactivated the magical link with Lamb, an entity first contacted by Crowley in 1918. The being resembles what would later be known as a gray alien. Grant developed an entire line of magical work around Lamb as a kind of ambassador from Universe B. He viewed Lamb not just as a symbolic figure, but as a real intelligence capable of opening portals to other realities and serving as a guide in the process of transformation. This stream of work became known as the Cult of Lamb, and it reflects the Typhonian emphasis on extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial contact as part of magical evolution. The Typhonian OTO itself is not a traditional magical order in the sense of degrees and rigid structures. It operates more like a network of individuals exploring the current through their own visionary and initiatory work. Grant's vision was to create a magical tradition rooted in inner contact and individual transformation. At its heart, the Typhonian system is a magic of contact. Not contact with a god to be worshipped or a force to be controlled, but with the alien, the unknown, the other side of reality. It is a magic of mutation, of becoming something beyond human. Da'ath for Grant is not just a hidden sephira or a philosophical idea. It is a gateway or wormhole on the Tree of Life. It exists between the known and the unknown, between ordered consciousness and the abyssal currents that lie beneath. Da'ath allows a transition point between universes, but is also an aperture through which anti-structure seeps in. Universe A is the world of familiar magical order, Sephiroth, angels, planetary forces, the structured hierarchies of ceremonial magic. It aligns with the known tree of life and the traditional initiatory path. Universe B represents the inverse or backside of this structure. It is aligned with the Qliphoth and the tunnels of Set, the pathways on the reverse side of the tree, and with the realm of dreaming, nightmare, and alien consciousness. What makes Grant's vision so unsettling and compelling is that Universe B is not simply evil or demonic in a conventional sense. It is radically other. It is outside the moral binaries and structures of human perception. It is chaotic, but not necessarily destructive. It is creative, but not in a way that conforms to human desires. Universe B, for Grant, is the source of potential, of unborn and unrealized forms. It is the womb of new aeons, the birthplace of strange gods. Grant believed that contact with Universe B could bring about an evolutionary leap in consciousness, but not as a gentle process. It is a splintering of form, of identity, of time itself. The magician who enters Da'ath and moves into Universe B is not just exploring new symbols. They risk disintegration. In Universe B, the tree of life is no longer stable. The paths between Sephiroth twist into tunnels, psychic wormholes, inhabited by non-human intelligences. Grant links these with Lovecraft's pantheon, not as literal mythologies but as transmissions from this other side. He believed that Lovecraft and Spare were mediums of the Typhonian current, receiving transmissions from Universe B. Da'ath then becomes the point where knowledge collapses into unknowing, where structured awareness breaks apart and becomes porous to the alien. It is, paradoxically, the point of highest risk and deepest initiation. Grant warns that few can pass through this gateway intact. Those who survive become vessels for the influx of the Typhonian current, forces from beyond the stars, beyond reason, even beyond magic as traditionally understood. What's especially unique in Grant's vision is that he doesn't treat these ideas as metaphor alone. His writing implies that Universe B is as real as waking life, perhaps more so. It is a hidden dimension, a secret continent of consciousness, and he treats the Typhonian rituals, sigils, and dream workings as tools to awaken the senses needed to perceive and engage with it. To approach Da'ath and Universe B in Grant's system is to embrace paradox, to walk into madness not as chaos, but as a language, a grammar of alien intelligence. It is an invitation to court possession, transformation, and even annihilation, but always in the service of a deeper unveiling. Grant does not promise enlightenment. He offers direct contact with the unknown. For him, this is the true purpose of magic. Grant first encountered Aleister Crowley in the 1940s and became his personal assistant. Crowley recognized Grant's devotion and initiated him into the AA, the inner order focused on personal spiritual development and enlightenment. After Crowley's death, Grant aligned with Carl Germer, Crowley's appointed successor in the OTO, but their relationship withered after Grant began developing his own highly unorthodox interpretations of Thelema. Eventually, he was expelled from the mainstream OTO, at which point he founded his own version, the Typhonian OTO, emphasizing contact with non-human intelligences and magical explorations beyond the traditional Kabbalistic framework. Austin Osman Spare, an artist and occultist with his own unique magical system based on sigils and the unconscious mind, was a close associate and major influence on Grant. Spare had rejected Thelemic orthodoxy and developed a personal, intuitive approach to magic that would later heavily inform Grant's work. Grant saw in Spare's techniques a gateway to deeper, pre-human occult currents, what he came to call the night side, or the other side of the tree of life. After Spare's death, Grant worked to preserve and publish Spare's writings and art, seeing in them a kind of magical transmission in visual form. His book Images and Oracles of Austin Osman Spare, published in 1975, rekindled interest into the artwork and occult philosophizing of A.O. Spare. Michael Bertiaux's Wudang Gnostic current, as Grant describes it, aligns closely with his own vision of Universe B. Both systems treat magical practice as a way of entering into communication with extra-dimensional or transmundane beings. These are often not gods in the traditional sense, but egregores, loa, or cosmic intelligences, entities which exist outside human categories of good and evil. Grant especially resonates with Bertiaux's use of Gnostic Luciferianism, necromantic ritual, and labyrinthine symbol systems to access these hidden zones of consciousness. Bertiaux's concept of the meon, a kind of pre-cosmic void or anti-being, is something Grant connects to his own ideas about the womb of Universe B, the chaotic source of all potential. Both men saw magic not just as a method of transformation, but as an interface with the unknown, a kind of interdimensional communication through sigils, trance, and language itself. The dream body, the double, the phantom limbs of the psyche, all these become operative vehicles in their magical systems. Where Grant used terms like the tunnels of Set, the Mauve Zone, and Qliphotic intelligences, Bertiaux speaks of voodoo spirits, Gnostic saints, and magical rays. Yet the purpose is remarkably similar: to awaken latent powers, dissolve the ego's illusions, and enter into communion with forbidden or hidden sources of knowledge. Bertiaux syncretized traditions freely, mixing Catholic saints with African spirits, Gnostic cosmology with thelemic imagery, and sexual magic with astral vampirism. This creative chaos mirrored Grant's own stylistic and magical approach. Grant was especially interested in Bertiaux's use of language as a magical tool. Bertiaux developed entire symbolic languages, magical alphabets, mantrams, and visual keys, designed to activate psychic centers and open gateways in consciousness. This corresponded closely to Grant's own theory of magical writing. For both men, writing itself was a form of ritual, a sigil, a talisman that can open portals. Their books were not just text to read, but transmissions, deliberately encoded with symbolic content that influenced the reader subconsciously. Another area of resonance was the use of sexuality as a magical engine. Both Grant and Bertiaux considered sexual gnosis, not merely in physical terms, but in dream, memory, and astral projection, as a potent method for entering magical realms. Grant also admired Bertiaux's emphasis on mutation, not just of the soul, but of perception, identity, even species. Bertiaux often described magical development as a kind of psychic evolution or transhuman emergence, where the magician is gradually reconfigured into something no longer fully human. This idea was central to Grant's own notion of the aeon, the evolutionary phases of consciousness shaped by contact with pre- or post-human intelligences. For both, the magician was not simply refining the self but dissolving it, reassembling it into a new form capable of navigating alien landscapes of being. Grant made a distinctive contribution to modern occultism, integrating the writing of H.P. Lovecraft into magical theory. While Lovecraft believed his cosmic horror stories to be wholly fictional, Grant felt that Lovecraft had tapped into actual occult reservoirs through his dreams and imagination. In Grant's view, the pantheon of alien entities in Lovecraft's fiction, such as Nyarlathotep and Azathoth, were genuine occult forces resonating with the same transmundane energies accessed in ritual magic. He suggested that Lovecraft's work could be used as a kind of grimoire, especially when viewed through the lens of the Kabbalah and the tunnels of Set, paths on the reverse side of the Tree of Life leading into zones of chaos and anti-cosmic power. Visionary artist Linda Falorio has explored each of the 22 tunnels of Set, as elucidated by Kenneth Grant in Night Side of Eden, and illustrated the tunnels in her tarot deck, known as the Shadow Tarot. It succinctly encapsulates and revivifies each realm, and creates a focal point beneficial in meditation and divination. Nema, also known as Maggie Ingalls, was a contemporary American occultist who made a notable contribution to Kenneth Grant's vision of the Typhonian current, particularly through her concept of Madian magic and the articulation of a magical current connected with the Aeon of Mot. Though she was not a formal student of Grant, their ideas intersected in significant ways, and Grant acknowledged her work and incorporated elements of it into his own writing. Nema is known in Typhonian circles for receiving and writing Liber Pennae Praenumbra in 1974, a channeled text that she described as a transmission from transmundane intelligences associated with the coming Aeon of Mot. This work was stylistically and conceptually similar to the kind of transmissions that interested Grant, texts received in altered states or dreamlike consciousness, carrying occult significance through symbol, vibration, and vision rather than rational explanation. The Aeon of Mot, as described by Nema, represents an evolutionary phase beyond the Aeon of Horus. In thelemic cosmology, the Aeon of Horus is the current age of individual will, revolution, and destruction of old structures. Mot, in contrast, is the Aeon of balance, justice, and integration. Nema's vision was that the magician must go beyond ego-centered will and enter into a broader field of interconnected consciousness, what she called selfless will, or the will aligned with cosmic equilibrium. Kenneth Grant respected this work because it resonated with his own ideas about occult evolution, the emergence of post-human consciousness, and the importance of feminine and chthonic currents. He referred to Nema's Mayadian work as part of the broader Typhonian current. While the names and symbols differed, Grant saw her visions as parallel to his own explorations of Universe B, the Mauve Zone, and the night side of the Tree of Life. In Outside the Circles of Time, one of the most important volumes in Grant's Typhonian trilogies, he references Nema's Liber Penae Praenumbra as a genuine magical transmission, placing her among the small group of modern occultists capable of contacting deep currents of transpersonal intelligence. He saw her work as evidence that the Typhonian current was not limited to his own group or symbolic system, but was manifesting across the globe through different channels. Grant also appreciated that Nema's work emphasized dream work, inner vision, and psychic contact, approaches central to his own system. Both saw the magician as a kind of medium or interface for communicating with alien or post-human intelligences, and both emphasized the importance of magical writing, visionary art, and sexual polarity as vehicles for initiation. Nema's contribution helped reinforce Grant's perspective of a transionic magical tradition that recognized not only the Aeon of Horus, but the incoming Aeon of Mot simultaneously, incorporating the double aeonic current theorized by Frater Achad. For Grant, Mot was not a separate current but a complementary polarity to the Typhonian stream. She represented the feminine balancing principle that counteracts the solar phallic intensity of Horus and opens the magician to the lunar, the void, the dream, and the collective psyche. Nema's work validated and extended many of Grant's most radical ideas. Her transmission of the Mayatian current gave form and coherence to a parallel magical vision, one that Grant recognized as legitimate, powerful, and deeply connected to the same evolving occult reality he had dedicated his life to mapping. Through a series of dense, symbolic, and highly visionary books known as the Typhonian trilogies, Grant has developed a magical system that reached far beyond traditional thelema. He viewed consciousness itself as a magical instrument capable of bridging other dimensions and believed that contact with extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial intelligences was central to the next phase of human evolution. He has expanded the magical paradigm into radical and fruitful new territories. The Typhonian order still functions as a self-initiatory order and continues to inspire those drawn to Grant's syncretic and visionary path.